Welcome to Content Managers. We are going to discuss an important topic today. That is understand fasting and refeeding syndrome. A prolonged period of fasting followed by abrupt refeeding can cause severe changes in electrolyte and fluid balance, metabolism, and other metabolic parameters. This condition is known as fasting and refeeding syndrome (FRS). The body uses fat and glycogen as stored energy when fasting, which causes the loss of vital minerals and electrolytes, including potassium, magnesium, and phosphorus. The body's metabolic processes experience an abrupt and drastic change when refeeding is started, particularly if it is done too soon or with a high calorie intake, which frequently results in grave consequences: heart arrhythmias, respiratory failure, convulsions, and even death are signs of familial fasting and refeeding syndrome, especially in undernourished or sick people. Understanding fasting and refeeding syndrome is crucial for healthcare professionals, especially those working in settings where patients may undergo prolonged periods of fasting or nutritional rehabilitation, such as in eating disorder treatment centers, intensive care units, or during therapeutic fasting regimens. Without proper knowledge of FRS, there is a risk of inadvertently exacerbating the condition during refeeding, leading to potentially life-threatening complications. Additionally, education about FRS among patients and caregivers is essential to promote awareness and adherence to safe fasting and refeeding practices, thereby minimizing the likelihood of this dangerous syndrome occurring. Coming to the types of fasting: intermittent fasting. The dietary strategy known as intermittent fasting alternates between periods of eating and fasting, placing more emphasis on the time of meals than the type of food chosen. The 16/8 method, which involves fasting for 16 hours and eating every meal within an 8-hour window. Alternate day fasting, which alternates between days of regular eating and fasting. The 5-2 diet, which calls for eating regularly for 5 days and restricting calories onto non-consecutive days. Eat-stop-eat method, fasting for 24 hours once or twice a week. 20 quarters method, fasting 20 hours and eating within 4 hours bracket. Alternate day fasting, alternating between days of regular eating and fasting. 24 hours twice a week. Warrior diet, eating lesser amounts of raw fruits and vegetables during the day, and having one large meal at night, typically within a 4-hour eating period. Spontaneous meal skipping, skipping meals when not hungry or busy, 1 meal a day OMAD. Consuming all daily calories within a single meal, usually within a 1-hour eating window. People may experience regulated blood sugar levels, enhanced fat burning, and accelerated cellular repair processes by incorporating intermittent fasting into their lifestyle, all of which support general health and vigor. Intermittent fasting can be sustainable in the long term with proper planning, flexibility, and individualization. Therapeutic fasting. Therapeutic fasting, on the other hand, involves longer fasting, periods ranging from several days to weeks, and is often conducted under medical supervision. Unlike intermittent fasting, which focuses on regular fasting and feeding cycles, therapeutic fasting aims to induce physiological and metabolic changes that can potentially address various health conditions. Therapeutic fasting has been studied for its potential benefits in managing chronic diseases like obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and autoimmune disorders, by allowing the body to enter a state of ketosis, where it primarily burns stored fat for fuel. Therapeutic fasting may trigger metabolic improvements, reduce inflammation, promote cellular repair, and enhance overall health. However, therapeutic fasting requires careful planning, monitoring, and medical oversight to ensure safety and effectiveness, especially for individuals with underlying health issues or those taking medications. Now, let us look at the views of various dietitians and experts. Refeeding syndrome. Dr. Jason Fung's perspective. The Canadian nephrologist and author Dr. Jason Fung has complex views on fasting and refeeding syndrome. He is well known for supporting low-carb diets and intermittent fasting as ways to manage type 2 diabetes and obesity. Dr. Fung emphasizes how fasting can lead to weight loss, improved insulin sensitivity, and decreased inflammation in the body. He does, however, recognize that there may be dangers connected to refeeding syndrome, especially following prolonged or intense fasting periods. Overall, Dr. Fung's perspectives on fasting and refeeding syndrome align with his broader stance on using fasting as a therapeutic intervention for metabolic conditions. While acknowledging the potential risks involved, he emphasizes the importance of informed decision-making, proper guidance, and gradual refeeding protocols to ensure the safety and effectiveness of fasting regimens. Dr. Eric Westman, a well-known researcher and physician with a focus on metabolic health and low-carb diets, Dr. Westman has carried out multiple studies proving the effectiveness of low-carb diets, such as the ketogenic diet, for managing diabetes and weight loss. He highlights those limiting carbohydrates is essential for enhancing insulin sensitivity and accelerating fat reduction. Dr. Sarah Hallberg, the medical director of Virta Health and an advocate of carbohydrate restriction, has carried out studies showing how low-carb diets can improve metabolic health and reverse type 2 diabetes. Her research highlights the significance of customized dietary strategies based on metabolic condition and carbohydrate tolerance. Dr. David Ludwig, a nutrition and obesity expert and professor at Harvard Medical School, supports intermittent fasting and low glycemic index meals as successful methods for managing diabetes and losing weight. His study emphasizes the advantages for metabolism of cutting back on carbohydrates and increasing fullness with nutrient-dense, complete foods. Mark Adam Hyman, MD, a best-selling author and functional medicine practitioner, advocates for a pagan diet that mixes vegan and paleo-dietary ideas with a focus on low glycemic load foods. He promotes cutting back on refined carbohydrates and implementing intermittent fasting to help with weight management and metabolic health. Coming to the biological syntheses of fasting can decrease insulin levels, increase fat burning, and enhance metabolic health through a biological synthesis that involves multiple interrelated pathways and physiological responses. Glycogen depletion. When fasting, the body first uses the muscles and liver's stores of glycogen for energy. Insulin levels fall as glycogen stores are reduced because less glucose needs to be transported into cells. Reduced insulin levels tell the body to burn stored fat instead of glucose as its main energy source. Ketosis. The body starts to make ketone bodies from fatty acids in the liver through a process known as ketogenesis when glycogen stores are exhausted. Particularly for the brain and other tissues, ketones act as an alternate fuel source, lowering the requirement for glucose and reducing insulin levels even more. Weight loss is possible because of this metabolic condition known as ketosis, which encourages fat burning, increased lipolysis. Triglycerides, or stored fat, are broken down into fatty acids and glycerol via lipolysis, which is accelerated by fasting. After being liberated into the bloodstream, these fatty acids are sent to organs, including the liver and muscles, where they are oxidized to produce energy. This procedure encourages fat burning and further lessens the need for insulin and glucose for energy. Extended periods of fasting. Longer periods of fasting have been demonstrated to increase insulin sensitivity, which makes it possible for cells to react to insulin's signals and promote the uptake of glucose more successfully. By regulating blood sugar levels, this increased insulin sensitivity lowers the likelihood of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, autophagy, and cellular repair. When a person fasts, their body goes through processes like autophagy, which breaks down and recycles broken or malfunctioning parts. This cleanup phase of the cell serves to lower inflammation, enhance overall metabolic health, and maximize cellular performance. Hormonal regulation. Glucagon, cortisol, growth hormone, and other hormones involved in metabolism are secreted in different amounts during a fast. These hormones contribute to the metabolic advantages of fasting. By facilitating the mobilization of stored energy, controlling blood sugar, and encouraging fat use. Overall, through a mix of hormonal shifts, substrate use, and cellular processes, fasting induces a metabolic shift that favors fat burning, lowers insulin levels, and improves metabolic health. This coordinated reaction to fasting enhances metabolic flexibility and aids in the body's adaptation to times of energy deprivation, both of which are beneficial to general health. Risks associated with fasting and abrupt refeeding. Prolonged fasting can deplete essential nutrients and lead to muscle breakdown, while rapid refeeding after fasting may trigger severe shifts in electrolytes and metabolism, resulting in life-threatening complications like cardiac arrhythmias or respiratory failure. Safety measures. By using safety measures, people can reduce their chance of experiencing negative consequences from fasting and refeeding syndrome, guaranteeing a secure and efficient method of fasting for medical reasons. The following measures are recommended. Coming over to the tips to avert negative consequences of refeeding after fast. Number 1. Medical supervision. People who are thinking about therapeutic or extended fasting should consult a doctor, especially if they are taking medication or have underlying medical issues. To reduce the chance of complications, healthcare providers can evaluate each patient's unique risk factors, keep an eye on their vital signs, and make tailored recommendations. Number 2. Gradual refeeding. To avoid refeeding syndrome, refeeding should be started gradually following a period of fasting. Over several days, gradually increase your caloric intake, starting with small, easily digested meals. To progressively restore necessary nutrients and electrolytes, concentrate on eating foods high in nutrients. Number 3. Electrolyte monitoring. It is essential to regularly check the levels of electrolytes, especially potassium, magnesium, and phosphorus, during both the fasting and refeeding phases. Medical professionals may evaluate electrolyte levels with blood testing and intervene quickly if imbalances occur. Number 4. Hydration. Maintaining proper hydration during fasting and refeeding is essential to maintaining fluid balance and supporting metabolic processes. Encourage the use of water and electrolyte-rich liquids to prevent electrolyte imbalances and dehydration, especially during refeeding. Number 5. Nutritional support. People who are fasting should make sure they are getting enough vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients by either taking supplements or eating meals high in nutrients. Overall health can be supported, and nutritional deficiencies can be lessened with a balanced diet high in proteins, good fats, and micronutrients. Number 6. Customized approach. Age, gender, medical history, metabolic state, and other variables should be considered while designing a fasting schedule. Avoids severe or protracted fasting regimens without appropriate medical supervision, as they may raise the possibility of negative consequences. Number 7. Raising awareness and education. Educating people about the symptoms of refeeding syndrome and other effects is important for those who are fasting or refeeding. If they encounter severe symptoms like weakness, lightheadedness, disorientation, or an irregular pulse, urge them to get medical help. To sum up, to maximize health results, fasting and refeeding syndrome are intricate physiological processes that must be carefully considered and managed. While there are metabolic advantages to fasting, such weight loss and increased insulin sensitivity, there are also some hazards, especially if fasting is not done under close supervision or with the necessary safety measures. Refeeding syndrome emphasizes how crucial it is to carefully check electrolyte levels and gradually reintroduce food to minimize negative effects. People can maximize the potential advantages of fasting while lowering the risk of problems. By following customized fasting protocols, getting medical advice as needed, and placing a high priority on hydration and nutrient intake. to improve guidelines for safe fasting and refeeding practices and get a deeper understanding of the physiology involved. More research and education in this area are needed. Here I come to today's talk. You found this talk useful. Please subscribe, like, and share it to your family and friends for their knowledge. Thanks for being with us. Take care.